Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today we have set number 40290, and this is 60 years of the LEGO brick. Contains 421 pieces, and was available from January 28th to February 14th from LEGO Shop at Home, with purchases of $125 or more. However, it did sell out online a lot earlier than that, at least in the US, so, you know, technically the offer was still valid if you could find a LEGO store that had them in stock, but they did kind of go a little quickly. But this set consists of 4 micro-scale versions of previous LEGO sets that were, you know, kind of important to the history of the company, as well as this little brick on a stand with that printing on there, which is cool, nice metallic color, and that piece is also available in the Building Better Thinking sets, the other 60th anniversary parts buckets. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the box before we zoom in on each of the little vignettes. So this box is pretty big for a freebie, and so is the part count. I mean, 421 pieces for free is nothing to you know, laugh at. Like, it's kind of serious. You got the old logo appearing there, as well as the 60th anniversary logo. And it kind of looks like retro packaging. Like, it doesn't look like it's a 2018 box, really. You do have the modern logo, so it's not completely retro. And you also have it in different languages on the side, which I think is a little weird because it's such a logo-specific thing. But, you know, I'm not going to complain. The top also just shows the vignettes. You see them upside down. Nothing on the bottom, nothing on this side. But the back is very, very cool. It shows each of the, you know, actual sets that these microscale the vignettes are based on. We have the Yellow Castle from 1978, set number 375. This is the oldest one, and then I believe the second oldest is 1979, set number 928, which is a pretty iconic classic space set. These two, I think, the Yellow Castle and the 928, I forget what the 928 is actually officially called, shoot, but you can figure that out on your own. I think it has different names in different countries, so it'd be tough for me to tell you anyway. But I think those are really iconic. The Brickbeard's Bounty, or no, that's the 2009. This is the Black Seas Barracuda. Oh, all of the, you know, all the old AFOLs who were actually around when this set came out, they're going to be mad at me for that. But this is from 1989. This is set number 6285. And then we have the Airport Monorail as the last one, and that's from 1990, and set number 6399. This one I think is the least recognizable and iconic. However, a lot of AFOLs are also big fans of monorail stuff. So, you know, I think it's cool that they included it, even though it's not the most iconic choice. And then you've even got some other images, black and white, of kids. I think these are probably from catalogs or advertisements or something. Don't quote me on that. And again, I'm going to state here before I go any further into this review, I'm not an AFOL. I was not alive when any of these sets were available in stores. So I'm probably, you know, not the, well, I don't know everything about each one of these sets. You know, I know a little bit here and there. And, you know, you hear a lot of AFOLs talking about a lot of these in particular. But keep in mind that I have never had any of these sets. I've never seen them in person, but you know, I do appreciate the history behind them. And yeah, let's take a look at each of the vignettes, and we're going to go in order from oldest to newest. So this is the micro version of set number 375, Castle, released in 1978. And this set, you know, when it was available, had 14 minifigures and 767 pieces. And there is no price listed on Brickset, at least, so I don't know what it originally retailed for. I would assume, you know, it was medium to large. And this micro-scale version is pretty cool. It's built on a 10 by 10, I think, plate. Yeah. And it's mostly yellow, as the yellow castle was, but it does have a couple of interesting features and techniques on there. You've got a gate, which is done with these plates with bars on them, so you can kind of simulate opening the doors. However, they're blocked off on both sides, so you can't really actually open them. And you have some offsetting used with jumpers to make things look right. There's a little bit of a courtyard in there, which is accurate to the actual set. It was really spacey on the inside and mostly just walls to make it, work like a castle. You got the drawbridge that can open, which, was a feature on the actual set as well. And then here's one of the features of this set, which I think is pretty impressive. The walls can actually open up, like I'm pretty sure they were able to open up in the same configuration, but I know they were at least able to open up in the original set. It would give you access to all the interior stuff and everything. I think that's cool that they were able to work that feature into such a small model. And, they leave the studs exposed on the top to look like the ramparts in the castle, which is accurate. I think that this is an impressive micro model. It doesn't use a ton of pieces, and it doesn't use many super duper special pieces. I think that probably the most modern piece in here is this double jumper plate. But I think it's a cool little micro build. However, it's not my favorite of the four in the set. So here is the micro version of set number 928, Space Cruiser Moonbase. This set was a lot smaller than the original yellow castle, like the original Space Cruiser Moonbase, which, appropriately, the vignette is smaller, and used a lot fewer pieces, which, it's cool that they kind of scaled them accurately. Not all the sets are perfectly scaled, but, they're close enough. This original set had 338 pieces and 4 minifigures, and again, no retail price listed on BrickSet because it's old. But this is probably the most iconic classic space set out there. It's very popular amongst AFOLs. Obviously, I have never seen it or had it, so this doesn't mean too much to me. However, of all of the classic themes represented here, pirates, town, castle, and space, space is my favorite of the four. I do have a bunch of old classic space minifigures that my dad had actually when he was a kid, so just put that into perspective a little. And they're actually in good condition. I've shown them on the channel a couple times, but I do have a couple of classic space sets if you guys would be interested in me reviewing them. They're small, but, it might be interesting to take a look. You can let me know in the comment section down below. But back to this. The actual model here is pretty small, but it does look like what it's supposed to. And what I really love is the base. This represents the printed base plate that they had back then, and then a crater base plate. I forget if both were included in the set. I guess they were, actually, which, makes it cool. I wish that they had made them like 8x8s instead of 6x6, just because, that would be more directly in proportion with base plates, but, whatever. This is the little moon base that the name suggests, and I think that it's a really, really small representation, but it works well in scale with this. I think that that's pretty appropriately scaled, and you can move the radar dish around. In the official image of the actual set, it's shown like that. So, you can make it face whatever direction you want, though. And then there was also a little tiny rover included, which this, I really like it. It's only 2 pieces, but like having the roller skates, it just makes it look really good. So I think that this is a good vignette. However, in like the last year or two, they also made this available as a poly bag inside a book or something. I have it, so this is another version of 928, at least just the ship part. But this is a much larger scale, and it's much more detailed, and I like it a lot. So because of that, this is a little bit out of proportion, but I do think that it's still good, especially for the much smaller scale. And this is a pretty impressive mini model. The original version of the Black Seas Barracuda contain 909 pieces, 8 minifigures, and this one, Brickset has a retail price listed of $110. Obviously, give or take, could be, an error because it's an older set, so they don't have that information readily available. But that sounds accurate to me. The actual mini model of this is built to a similar scale as the ship in a bottle ship. Or, interestingly enough, you could actually fit this in there. But I think that this is pretty well detailed, and I like. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but I like how they didn't go super duper crazy with making it look like just a boat. How they actually went for kind of a more classic feel to it. They could have done, some stuff to make the base a little bit more interesting than just these 2x2 inverted slopes, but they didn't. And I think it works well to represent, this retro pirate ship set. Interesting fact, this is the only one of these 4 sets that was re-released as a Legends set in the early 2000s. They started re-releasing sets that were, really popular, and this was the only one of these 4 that had actually been re-released at that time. But overall, I think that this is really cool. I like this top deck, and the sails look cool. It does bug me that they rotate really easily. There's no friction in there, and I think there should have been. But this sail up on the front, too, works well, and I like the flags even, how they have the black and white in there to represent the, printed pirate flags. This is a really impressive mini model, I think. And I think that this set, again, is a good choice to have included here, because it is the embodiment of classic pirates, which is a big thing. I do think that it's pretty cool. However, this is super nitpick, but I wish that these plates would have been blue. I think it looks great in this color, but just, they didn't have this color back then. I think they should have tried to stick throughout the set with only colors that were actually available at the times that these sets were released. So, that's super nitpicky, but, I just feel like it would have been better to stick with plain old blue than this dark azure color. Don't get me wrong, it looks great, but and I really appreciate it for display, but again, keeping it retro. And last but not least, for these mini vignette builds, we have the Airport Shuttle, and this is set number 6399, microscale version, and the set was released in 1990 with 767 pieces, 9 minifigures, and $140 was its price, which again, could be wrong, but that's the best information I have. So the mini build is on a 10x8 plate this time, and I like how they actually build up the little booth down there, the staircase that goes up. They don't extend it out with the road plate and have the trees across the street for a little sign, but I think that this is an appropriate, waiting stop at ground level. The actual station has the, curves that are pretty important, and this even represents the little sign, but the actual track obviously doesn't continue all the way. They have the supports here, but, it just stops, which obviously it would be huge if they built out the whole track, so I don't think that would have been a good solution, but at the same time, this does feel a little weird. I figured it would look really weird, like just seeing the pictures, but in person it doesn't bother me as much. And in person, actually, this little mini build surprised me a lot. Like I wasn't expecting it to be, but I think it's probably my second favorite of these 4 after the Black Seas Barracuda, and just because they put a lot of detail into it, and I think it looks really, really nice. You've got the monorail, which is different on both sides. One side has the stripe, and one side has the extra windows, which, is appropriate and accurate to the actual thing. I guess it didn't have that much white, but one side did have more white than the other, because it had, the logo. And they even have the little center section, which would be the monorail battery, I think. Not the motor. I think the motor is hidden in there. I could be wrong. Haven't seen the actual set. Don't quote me on that. But overall, I think that this is just a really cool little micro-scale vignette of this airport shuttle, and it turned out better than I was expecting. So this set is definitely the best promo item of 2018. And I don't think that's going to change unless they do something really, really crazy. Just the way they executed all of these little tiny builds, they make great display models. There are some minor nitpicks you can make, like the color of that not being a color that existed back when the actual full-size version of the set was released. You can complain that these don't stay together, but you got to consider that this was a free set. Yeah, you had to spend $125 to get it, but obviously it proved pretty popular and sold out, pretty quickly. So if you wanted this, you could have gotten it relatively reasonably. Instead of releasing this as a $40 set, and even at $40, I think it would be a little expensive. Maybe if they released it as a $30 set, it would have been cool. But to just get it for free, I think it's really nice, and I think that they went all out in celebrating their 60th anniversary with this set. I think that it is a super cool promo, and if you had the opportunity to get one, you should have gotten one. I would 100% recommend it. If you're spending money on LEGO in 2018, you should have done it between the 28th and 14th of January. However, obviously it's no longer available directly from Shop at Home, and I think on eBay it was selling for $50. I don't know if that's as worth it. If you want it and you're a big AFOL who's been around since, or maybe when you were a kid you had some of these sets, I'd still say spring the money and go for it. It's a cool premium collector's item. I don't, if you're just a kid and you want to have these to play with, sorry, there's not much for you here. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who's looking for a neat little display model, or an AFOL who, actually knows anything about these sets, and is not just a person who was not around when these sets existed and doesn't know anything about them, But it's still a cool thing to me, and I'm going to keep it on display, for the foreseeable future, because I think it's a cool premium item to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the LEGO Brick, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.